The forest of Velmora was alive with silence. Not the calm kind, but the thick, breathing silence that wrapped around every tree, as if the woods themselves were holding their breath. Red moonlight dripped through the high branches like blood, from a wound in the sky. Below, deep in the grove of the old gods, fire roared to life in a sacred circle. Tonight was the blood moon rite, and everyone knew what it meant. Wolves gathered by the hundreds, shifting from skin to fur and back again, muscles twitching, hearts pounding. The air was heavy with the smell of pine, sweat, and ancient magic. Elders stood in long, black cloaks, their faces marked with ash and moon symbols, while younger werewolves stood in line, waiting to see who would be chosen. Alder Vane stood alone at the center, tall, scarred, with deep gold eyes that had seen too many winters. He looked like a warrior ready for battle. But inside, he wasn't sure. This rite, this ceremony, it had always been about tradition, about the moon choosing a mate, a partner, a bond written in blood and fate. But Alder didn't believe in fate. He had fought wars, buried brothers, watched alliances turn to ash. Mating wasn't about destiny. It was survival. Still, he obeyed, because the rite was law. The elder priest stepped forward. His voice cracked the air like a whip. As the blood moon rises, the flame shall speak. One shall be chosen. One shall be bound. The crowd howled, deep and wild, shaking the ground. The flames in the center flared upward, turning a strange shade of violet. The wind twisted through the trees, sudden and cold, sending sparks into the sky. Then something happened that no one expected. A sound, like the beat of dark wings, echoed through the grove. From the shadows beyond the trees, a figure appeared, not walking, floating, wrapped in black robes that shimmered like wet stone. Pale skin glowed under the moonlight. Her lips were the color of blood, and her eyes were impossible, silver and flame. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Growls followed. "She's not one of us," someone whispered. "She's not even alive," someone else muttered. Alder's breath caught. The woman, no, the creature, stepped into the firelight. She didn't flinch. If anything, the fire leaned toward her. Her voice was soft, yet it cut through the grove like glass. "I am Lilith of House Nocturne." A pause. Tense. Cold. "I did not come," she said. "I was called." The elders looked to one another, pale with shock. A vampire? Summoned by the sacred flame? It had never happened. Not in 1,000 years. "This is a mistake," one elder barked. "The moon does not choose vampires." But the flame spoke louder. It leapt toward her, encircling her body, but didn't burn her. Instead, it wrapped around her like a lover's arms, then reached toward Alder. He didn't move. Her eyes met his, and everything stopped. There were no more howls, no more rules, no more doubts. The rite had chosen her, and Alder, warrior of the wolves, was now bound to a vampire, not by accident, not by trickery, but by fate. As the fire rose higher and the blood moon reached its peak, one truth echoed through. The trees like thunder. The rite had begun a war, and love would be its first casualty. The moment the flame touched Alder, everything changed. It wasn't heat he felt, but something colder, deeper, like ice threading through his veins, then melting into fire. His heart stuttered once, then pounded hard enough to shake his ribs. Across the sacred circle, Lilith stood still, her lips parted slightly as if she too had felt the pull. The crowd erupted into chaos. Growls and shouts filled the grove. Some shifted into wolves, claws digging into the dirt, eyes glowing with rage. Others shouted for the rite to be stopped. The elders argued among themselves, their voices sharp with fear. "This is blasphemy. one elder roared. "The flame has been tricked." Another spat. Alder stood frozen. Lilith didn't flinch. She watched it all with the calm of someone who had seen many lifetimes, someone who knew that time changed everything, even hate. "You," Alder said finally, his voice low and rough. "What are you?" "I'm what the flame called," she answered simply. "The Rite chose. You felt it." He wanted to deny it, wanted to rip the feeling out of his chest, but he couldn't. The bond had been sealed, not by choice, not by desire, but by something older and more powerful than both. The high priest stepped forward, face pale with shock. "This rite is sacred. Never has it chosen one of the dead." "I'm not dead," Lilith said quietly. "I'm changed, like you." That silenced the grove. For the first time, Alder saw her not as a monster, but as something like himself, a creature caught between worlds, neither fully human nor beast, changed, cursed, bound to something beyond their control. The priest hesitated, then raised his hand. "The Rite has spoken, but the pack must decide. Until then, the vampire is not to be harmed. She stays under our guard." Alder's jaw clenched. "Then she stays with me." The crowd burst into fresh growls and angry cries, but Alder ignored them. His voice cut through the noise like steel. "I am the Rite bound. She is mine by law older than your fears." Lilith looked at him, her expression unreadable. And so it was done. That night, they rode back through the forest together, her black horse and his gray wolf moving side by side. Neither spoke. The trees whispered around them, uneasy with the bond they carried. Every step forward felt like stepping into war. At the edge of his clan's territory, Alder turned to her. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "I didn't choose to be," she replied. "But you're not afraid." She looked up at the blood moon, now fading behind clouds. "I've lived through worse than fear." They arrived at his keep before dawn, a stone fortress carved into the mountains, guarded by warriors who bowed low but eyed Lilith like she was a curse made flesh. Alder took her through quiet halls, down to the lower chambers. "This room was made for prisoners," he said. She stepped inside without complaint. "Then it's perfect." He locked the door, but the sound echoed strangely, as if something far worse had just been sealed. Upstairs the elders gathered. They argued about curses and laws, about blood and tradition. But Alder sat apart, staring into the fire. His mind wasn't on politics. It was on her. The way she had looked at him, calm, powerful, lonely, the way the flame had reached for her, not as an enemy, but as a mate, and as the sun began to rise, one truth sank into his bones. The bond was real, and it was only just beginning. The stone walls of the keep held their breath. Down in the cold chamber, Lilith sat on the edge of the hard bed. Her cloak lay folded beside her, and moonlight spilled through the narrow window, painting her in silver. She looked calm, still, but her fingers moved slowly over a ring she wore, a simple black band, old and worn. Older than the war, older than the Rite, older than even her name. Above her, Alder couldn't sleep. He stood by the window in his quarters, staring at the mountain shadows. The silence between them haunted him more than the flames ever could. The bond tied them, yes, but it didn't explain her. How did a vampire get pulled into a werewolf rite? What power moved behind this match? Was it fate, or was it something darker? He didn't trust her, but gods help him. He couldn't stop thinking about her either. At sunrise, a raven arrived, black feathers and blood-red eyes. It landed on the keep's battlement and screeched once, a call that chilled even the warriors. The letter tied to its leg was sealed in dark wax. Alder tore it open. One line. "She is not yours. She belongs to us." His blood turned to ice. Lilith. He stormed down the steps, each footfall echoing like a warning. When he opened the chamber door, she was already standing. "You knew they'd come," he said. "I hoped they wouldn't," she replied softly. "Who sent that raven?" She didn't answer right away. Her gaze drifted past him, toward the fading moonlight. "My past," she said. "And if it's found me, then so has death." Alder growled low. "You need to explain. Now." She sighed and sat again, her voice low but steady. "I was once bound to another house. A blood clan called the Red Thorns. They feed on power, not just blood. I escaped their grasp nearly a century ago during a great uprising. The ring," she held up the black band, "marks me as theirs. And now they've come to take you." "Back?" Alder asked. "No," she said. "Now they'll come to kill us both." Alder cursed under his breath and paced. "Why would the flame choose you? You were supposed to be free of them." "I don't know," she said honestly. "Maybe the Rite saw something I didn't. Maybe it saw the only way I'd ever survive them." Suddenly, a loud horn split the sky. It came from the edge of the forest, a warning. The guards rushed to the walls. Fires were lit, swords drawn, and in the trees shadows began to move, silent, fast, too graceful to be wolves. Vampires, but not like her. These were wild, blood-fed, dressed in red and black with eyes like open graves. Alder pulled her behind. "Him. You're not going back." "They don't want to take me," she said. "They want to make a point, that even the Rite cannot protect me, that a bond like ours will be punished. They'll have to kill me first." Lilith looked at him with something close to surprise. "You barely know me." "I don't have to. The flame chose, and now I choose." She touched his arm. "Then, you should know. If we fight together, we're no longer just cursed." He nodded slowly. "We're dangerous." And as the first of the Red Thorns stepped into the moonlight, fangs bared and blades drawn, Alder's growl rose into the sky. Let them come, because this bond would not break easily. Not by fear, not by blood, not by death. They didn't howl, they didn't shout. They came like wind over graves, silent, cold, and full of death. Crimson cloaks moved like torn banners in the mist. Their pale hands carried blades dipped in black venom, and their eyes burned with one message: no bond between blood and beast shall stand. Alder stood on the front steps of the keep, sword in one hand, clawed fist in the other. His pack circled him, loyal, fierce, confused. Most had never fought vampires, fewer had ever seen one, and now they stood ready to die beside one. Lilith walked calmly to his side. No armor, no weapons, just the storm in her eyes. "Stay behind." "Me," Alder said without looking at her. "I'm not a lamb," she replied. "I was killing before your grandfather was born." A sharp whistle cut the air, and the vampires charged. The first wave hit like a wave of knives. Fast, sharp, unnatural. Claws slashed, swords clanged, bodies flew. Alder spun, blade flashing in one hand while his wolf form burst through his skin. He moved like lightning wrapped in muscle, tearing, biting, throwing enemies back. But the Red Thorns didn't fear pain. They craved it. Lilith danced through the chaos like shadow. She moved faster than the eye could follow, her hands cutting with nothing but her nails, black and deadly. Each vampire she touched crumbled into ash. Her face stayed calm, but her eyes burned hotter with each kill. Then one of them called her name. "Lilith." She turned. He was taller than the others. Hair like coal. Armor laced with gold and bones. His mouth twisted in a cruel smile. "You left us. Now bleed for it." He hurled a dagger. It struck her in the side. Alder saw it too late. His roar split the sky. She staggered, breath caught, black-red blood soaked through her dress. She yanked the blade out and threw it aside. But her legs trembled. Alder was at her side in a second, dragging her behind him as the vampire who'd thrown the blade came forward. "You chose a dog," he spat. "You deserve to die like one." Alder answered with a growl and leapt forward. The two collided in the middle of the courtyard. Claws against steel, teeth against speed. Blood flew. Alder's shoulder was slashed open. The vampire's jaw cracked, but neither stopped. Behind them, Lilith dropped to one knee, pressing a hand to her side. Her skin was pale, paler than before. The dagger hadn't been ordinary. It had been made for her. Poisoned. The pack fought on around her, loyal but struggling. The Red Thorns weren't an army. They were a message, and they had come to deliver it in blood. Alder broke the vampire's blade in two, then shoved his claws through the creature's heart. It shrieked, then turned to ash. Silence followed. Only the groans of the wounded and the crackle of flames remained. He rushed back to her. She was still awake, but barely. "Don't touch me," she gasped. "The poison. It spreads. We'll find a way to stop it." "You can't. This poison is made from the roots of the obsidian tree. It's meant for my kind." He lifted her into his arms. "You're not dying tonight." "You sound so sure." "I don't need to sound sure," he said, walking toward the healers. "I just need to stay with you." She smiled faintly. The first blood had been spilled, but it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous. Love. The snow fell in silence, blanketing the forest with sorrow. Alder rode alone beneath the ghost pines, his cloak soaked with frost, his breath steaming like smoke. The horse beneath him was weary. So was he. But he didn't stop. Not when Lilith's life was fading with every passing hour. Not when her skin turned colder and her voice weaker. Not even when the healers whispered, "There is no cure for obsidian poison." There was one, but it lived far beyond the known maps, in the ruins of Vela, where no werewolf dared to go. A land soaked in death and haunted by forgotten gods. A place cursed even by vampires. The Moonlight Witch lived there. Alder had heard the stories. Everyone had. She was said to be older than the blood clans, older than the flame. She was not friend. She was not foe. She was a price, and she always took more than you offered. Alder reached the black gate of the ruin just before dusk. The stone arch was twisted with ancient vines, and bones lined the path like fallen leaves. He stepped off the horse and walked forward, the wind howling as if to push him back. She was waiting. The Moonlight Witch stood in the doorway, draped in blue silk that shimmered like starlight. Her face was veiled, but her voice was clear. "You seek what should not be given," she said. "I seek to save her." "Why?" she asked. "Because she is mine." A long pause followed. Then laughter, soft, strange, and bitter. "You speak of love like it is owed to you." "I don't care about what's owed," Alder said. "I care about what I feel." The witch stepped forward. "You want the thirst root, the only cure for obsidian poison. It grows in my garden, beneath the statue of the Hollow Queen. I can give it to you." He straightened. "Then give it." "But first," she said, "you must pay." Alder reached for the pouch on his belt. "Gold? Blood? Magic?" She shook her head. "No. You must give up one memory of her." He froze. "What?" "One memory," she said. "One pure moment. A laugh, a glance, a heartbeat. Give it to me, and you may have the root." His throat tightened. "I only have a few of those." "Exactly," she said. He closed his eyes. He saw Lilith again, her standing beneath the moon, firelight in her, silver eyes. The night she said, "I didn't choose this." The way her voice trembled just once like something fragile breaking. That moment. He gave it up. The witch reached into her gown and pulled out a twisted root, black and pulsing with strange light. "Plant this in her wound," she said. "It will drink the poison and vanish, but she will not be the same." "How do you mean?" "She will live," the witch said, "but a part of her heart will always be cold. You will never warm it, never reach it." Alder took the root. "If that's the price, I'll pay it." When he returned to the keep, Lilith was near the edge. Her skin was like glass, and her breath came in soft gasps. The healers stepped aside as he entered. He knelt by her and pressed the root to her side. It sank in like water. A scream left her lips. The wound smoked, hissed, and then stopped. Her eyes fluttered open. "Alder," she whispered, but he didn't answer. He didn't remember the moment. She had first looked at him like that. It was gone. Taken, but she was alive. And that was all that mattered. Lilith opened her eyes 3 days after the poison left her body. But something was wrong. Alder saw it the moment she sat up. Her silver eyes still glowed. Her skin still gleamed like moonlight. But the warmth, the quiet flicker of feeling he used to catch in her gaze, was gone, like a fire that had been quietly put out. She blinked slowly, as if waking from a long dream. "You saved me," she said. "I had to," Alder whispered, sitting beside her bed. "I couldn't let you go." She gave him a faint smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. It felt rehearsed. Polite. "Thank you," that was all. No sharp joke, no cold flirt, no lingering stare. Just silence. He stayed with her through the night, watching her sleep, hoping her soul would return with the dawn. But when morning came, she rose without looking at him. She moved like a queen in exile, calm, regal, and distant. She trained again within days, faster than ever, colder than before. The pack watched her carefully, some with awe, some with fear. She never spoke of the wound, never asked what had happened, never remembered the pain, or the moment he had carried her in his arms, whispering her name like a prayer, because that memory was gone. And so was something else. That evening, Alder found her standing on the battlements, staring across the valley. The snow had melted, and the rivers roared with spring. The world was alive again, but she was not. "Lilith," he said softly, "do you remember the night you arrived?" She glanced at him. "I remember the rite, the flame, the bond. But not after." She shook her head slowly. "There's a space in my mind, a hole, like a page torn from a book." Alder looked down at his hands. "That was the price for saving you." She turned, studying him. "What did you give?" "A moment," he said. "One where I saw you, truly saw you, and felt something I never expected to feel. And now? Now you're here. But that piece of you, the one that looked back at me that night, it's gone." Her face didn't change, not even a blink. Then she said, "Perhaps it was never mine to begin with." That cut deeper than any dagger. Before he could reply, a scout rushed into the tower. "My lord, my lady, we found something. Or someone." Alder followed him down to the forest edge where the warriors had surrounded a small figure cloaked in black. She was young, no older than 16, her eyes wild with fear. "I'm from the southern shrine," she said. "I bring a warning." "Speak," Alder commanded. "The red thorns are not finished. The one you killed wasn't their leader. He was only the messenger." Lilith stepped forward. "Then who leads them now?" The girl swallowed hard. "They call her the Hollow Queen." Lilith froze. "I thought she was legend," she whispered. The girl looked at her, trembling. She's not. She's coming, and she wants you, Lilith. The name fell like ice between them. Lilith stared into the trees. Her voice dropped to a whisper. She doesn't want to kill me. Then what? Alder asked. She wants to finish what she started. Alder stepped closer. And what's that? Lilith looked at him, and for the first time, something flickered in her eyes. Not warmth, not love, fear. She wants to make me her heir. Lilith stood at the edge of the forest, her black cloak billowing in the wind. The words, "She wants to make me her heir," still echoed in her mind like a curse whispered through stone. The Hollow Queen. The name was carved into every dark chapter of vampire history. She wasn't just a ruler, she was a maker. She turned nobles into monsters and daughters into weapons. And now she wanted Lilith back, not as a traitor, not as prey, but as her legacy. Alder watched her from behind, silent and tense. "She raised you?" he asked quietly. Lilith nodded. "She created me, chose me when I was still human, gave me her blood, taught me everything, how to hunt, how to rule, how to kill. And now she wants you to take her place? She never forgave me for running. I think she always knew I'd come back, one way or another." Alder stepped closer. "You don't have to go." Lilith turned to him, eyes hard like stone. "She'll keep coming, burning villages, turning innocents, crushing everyone around me, until I give in or everything I care about is ash." He stepped in front of her. "Then we fight, together." But Lilith didn't answer. She looked past him, past the trees, as if seeing a life that could never exist. Then she spoke, low and cold. "I have to meet her, alone. No, she'll only listen to me." "She doesn't want to talk," Alder growled. "She wants to own you. And she will, if I don't end this." Alder's fists tightened. "You're not her. You're not some dark queen waiting to be crowned." She stepped closer. "Then what am I, Alder? A mate without a heart? A flame without a spark?" He didn't answer, because part of him feared the same thing, that the Lilith who once looked at him like he mattered was gone. She placed her hand gently on his chest. "Let me do this. If I fall, you'll know I tried to fight." His voice cracked. "Don't go alone." But she was already walking. That night under a full silver moon, Lilith entered the Wailing Hollow, an ancient temple buried deep in the mountains, a place vampires feared, a place where the Hollow Queen ruled. The cold hit her like a wave. Mist curled through the air like ghost hands. Black vines crawled across the walls, pulsing like veins. And at the altar, seated on a throne of bones, was the Hollow Queen. She hadn't aged a day, hair like midnight, eyes like deep water, a smile that could split the earth. "Child," the Queen purred, rising. "I'm not your child," Lilith said, "but you carry my blood." "Not my heart," the Queen laughed, soft and cruel. "That's where you're wrong. You left the world. But the world didn't leave you. You came back to me, when the Rite failed to protect you, when the werewolf couldn't heal you, when love was not enough. I came to end this." "You came," the Queen whispered, walking down the steps, "to choose." Her nails slid across Lilith's cheek. "Become what you were meant to be. My heir, my power, my fury." Lilith didn't move, but inside, the flame of Alder's bond pulsed, distant, quiet, but alive. "I already chose," she said, and with one swift move, she pulled a blade of sunlight from her sleeve, a weapon forged by the Moonlight Witch. She drove it toward the Queen. But the Queen caught her wrist. Their eyes locked, mother and daughter, creation and rebellion, and in that breathless second, Lilith understood something horrifying. To destroy the queen, she might have to destroy the part of herself that still felt love. The moon turned red, not the soft red of wine or roses, but the red of war, of blood, of endings. The hollow queen and Lilith stood frozen beneath the ruined temple dome, moonlight pouring over them like a curse. Lilith's hand trembled around the sunblade, its glow flickering against her pale skin. The queen's fingers were locked around her wrist, cold as marble, unbreakable. "You hesitate," the queen whispered, her voice thick with power. Lilith's heart pounded, but her face showed no fear. Only weight, memory, doubt. "You made me," she said, voice steady. "But I made myself." The queen smiled. "You don't believe that. I see you, Lilith. You came here because you needed to, because you are me." "I came here to end you." The queen twisted her wrist. Lilith cried out, the blade clattering to the stone floor. "You still feel," the queen said darkly. "You still cling to that werewolf, that bond, that illusion." "I don't feel anything," Lilith spat through gritted teeth. "Not since he gave up the memory." But her voice faltered. Because that was a lie. Even broken, the bond still pulsed. Even shattered, it echoed inside her like a heartbeat waiting to be heard again. And then, through the temple shadows, he appeared. Alder, covered in blood. Eyes, wild. Heart unbroken. He had followed her. The guards tried to stop him. He tore through them. He didn't care about curses or laws or the gods themselves. Only her. The queen turned, her smile fading. "You should not be here, beast." "I go where she is," Alder growled. Lilith stared at him, stunned. He had come, despite the silence between them, despite the loss, despite the fear. "You forgot me," she whispered. "I forgot a moment," he said, stepping forward. "Not you. Never you." Her eyes burned. "Even if I'm not whole anymore?" "I don't want perfect," he said. "I want you, as you are." The queen snarled. "You love what's broken. How noble, how useless." She raised her hand, shadows curling like smoke from her fingers. Alder moved to protect Lilith, but she stepped in front of him. "No more running," she said. She picked up the sunblade again, the light surging in her hand. The queen's magic struck, but Lilith pushed through it, every step cutting through the darkness. "You don't own me anymore." With a scream, she plunged the blade through the queen's heart. The magic exploded. The temple shook. The air cracked open. Screams of ancient spirits filled the sky. The queen's body turned to smoke, then ash, then wind. Silence fell. Lilith collapsed, the blade slipping from her fingers. Alder caught her. Her eyes fluttered open, brighter than before. Warmer. "I feel it again," she whispered. "I feel you." He held her tightly. "I'm here. Always." The blood moon began to fade. Dawn stretched over the valley. The first light of day touched the broken stones, and where once stood a vampire bound by the past, now stood a woman free. The pack would never forget that night. The night a vampire chose love over power. The night a werewolf defied fate for something stronger than war. And as the world healed and the forests bloomed again, two souls, one cursed by fire, the other by blood, walked forward together, no longer bound by ancient laws, but by something even older: choice.